Hello everyone, Alex Smith here, Rupert Honeywood on my right, Business Growth Bureau. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us once again. Today we're going to be talking about the importance, or the relevance more than anything actually, in terms of international clients. Whether you're selling from the UK into Europe, UK into say the different parts of the world, or if you're actually in the US or Asia selling into the UK, and the importance of things like Brexit and stuff like that. So Rupert, I'm going to leave this pretty much completely with you. What is the importance of how important are other markets to us at the moment?
Right, okay. I mean, I think it's very easy to assume, perhaps because we've been so used to trading in our own respective territories or countries, that there is actually a much bigger opportunity out there. And it's really interesting because we're moving into a time in some ways where everything is a lot more protectionist. So obviously you've got Trump in the US, there's elements of trade wars or trade barriers coming up. You've got the UK coming out of Brexit, you've got other problems in Europe and so on. But actually, what we don't realise, we've got some massive tools in our toolbox, which, that is true of a number of the social media platforms, because in a whole range of different ways, we are able to trade, quite freely internationally. So, for example, if you look at LinkedIn alone, we already established earlier on there's over nearly 700 million people on LinkedIn now, and taking the UK alone, 23 million in the UK on LinkedIn. 5 million profiles might be dormant or relatively dormant, so it's still 18 million or so. So what you can do is phenomenal. And so, for example, if you've got a product or service which can scale or can be sold into other countries, if you're in the UK or in the US, why don't you look at Asia? If you're in Asia, why don't you look into the UK or Australasia or the US? You've got that ability to search and hone down now into people into your chosen target market.
I suppose especially that works very well if you're of the consumer kind of base side of it in terms of products, or if you're a very consultative kind of sale where people can join you on things like webinars, they can join you at seminars in local cities and so on and so forth. If you're selling that kind of solution or product, where you don't need to physically be there, whether it could be over via video call, by some sort of webinar service, or if they can all gather in one space by a seminar, that works very, very well. For example, let's say we're traveling to Hong Kong, we could have, say, a seminar in Hong Kong, for example, which could work very well in terms of we provide this kind of solution or some sort of value in that kind of environment. Do you think that would work well, that kind of solution?
Yes, it would. In fact, one of our clients, interesting enough, there's a little bit of a story, been with us now for 2 years, and they come for 2.5 years now. And they're very specialised, but they operate in international markets. So they're based in Oxfordshire, and they've got about 40 employees. And they specialise in the area of microbiology, pathology, and they deal a lot with scientists as well. But they run medical conferences in Asia, the US, Europe, UK. And one of the things we've been working very hard with them is to help to identify people who would be really good as attendees at their respective events. So we've now developed a list of people who are in their chosen targets, so over 30,000 so far in total. And some of those even went into China, and we thought that China would be really difficult.
Yeah.
But interesting enough, if you look at China, and in the medical space, English is spoken as a second language. So that was very good for helping them to run an event in Asia, where people from China had to then potentially get visas to be able to travel abroad and so on. So you don't need to think about any more about just being very insular and having to stick to individual territories. Some of the best business is in other territories of the world. We've got a number of clients that we're helping to get business in Asia, for example, the Middle East.
And in addition
go for it.
In addition to what we've already spoken about, obviously we've dealt with kind of lead generation for this series so far. We've also dealt with about prospect nurturing. When going to international clients, do our viewers or listeners, do they have to think about anything else? Do they have to take any extra considerations in? Or is the searching the same? Is the tonality, the methodology, is it all the same?
The searching works pretty well, just as much as well in most of the territories we talked about. I mean, certainly if you're using us to provide a service, it works particularly well where English is spoken as a first or second language. But that's also partly a limitation on our side because obviously we're English ourselves, but there's a massive reach in that particular space. Obviously there's a few taxation issues to think about, but on the whole it's relatively light touch. And even with some of the disruption going on at the moment, people should just be using the tools in the toolbox and just maxing it out as much as they can.
And the platforms we've talked about so far throughout this series, are they the right tools? Is there tools that work better for each country? I mean, for example, if you're doing a very visual product, for example, Instagram, I know works very, very well all over the world. So does Facebook, for example. But is there anyone in your experience that works particularly well in different areas?
No, I mean, obviously there are certain networks which are particularly specific to certain territories. So China's got some of its own networks. I think Germany, for example, I think is a network called Zing, which I'm not really familiar with, but it's a competitor to LinkedIn. But LinkedIn is still, in the business space, is being regarded as being the platform of business in virtually all the territories that most of us would be interested in. And
bear in mind as well one thing, although we're talking about this from our point of view in terms of providing that English is spoken as a first or a second language, these methods that we're speaking about and tonality could be used in your own language, or it could be used in your own country. For example of that is we've recently taken on a gentleman that works and lives in Germany. Now, although LinkedIn's not extremely popular there, it's Zing, he can use the methodology we've taught him and the tonality and the approach he can use, and he can actually apply that to his own processes and his own kind of audience in Germany.
Yeah.
So this is, although we're talking about this in terms of our point of view and how well it works for us in terms of first or second language for the UK and for English, this methodology can be used all over the world, and it can be used internationally as well as in your own country.
Yeah, that's absolutely spot on.
Yeah, is there anything else you feel that we need to cover on this?
I don't think so, but what I would just simply say is don't constrain yourself. There's just massive opportunities out there. In fact, in many ways, I think it's Seth Godin, a very famous worldwide blogger, as probably many of you know him, basically describes that change is not a threat, it's a massive opportunity. And the smart companies or organisations out there are seizing the tools in the toolbox and doing the best they can with them.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is you can just do so much stuff using the methodologies we talked about on this video series.
100%. Okay, well, once again, thank you so much, Rupert Honeywood. I'm Alex Smith, Business Growth Bureau. Once again, as I always say, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. Although a short episode, I feel a lot of value shared today. Your feedback and comments are our oxygen. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. Any comments you'd like to do, throw them on the links below. Or if you'd like to actually join us on a webinar to find out more about the processes that we follow, you're more than welcome to. The link will be in there as well. So thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on the next episode. Take care.
Great.